Hi, Carlene. Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, my dear.
Um, I was a bit confused when you said the left side for the mother. Is it my left side or when you look at me? Because I felt a lot happening in my right side.
Are you
Not,
left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, so let me ask you another question. The experience, were they relevant to you?
I went through a very sad process and I was shaking all over the body, a lot of tears, a lot of crying, a lot of abandonment.
Yeah.
And I felt also the abandonment of my mother, which is actually the same as mine. So I'm still a bit emotional, but oof, it was heavy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I
I
know that the shaking is a traumatic response, but I
correct.
didn't expect it at all, actually. I expected a Zen moment, but
You're going to be Zen now. I promise you. Because the release is so. I know it's strange with left or right, but it doesn't matter. Actually, when I went in, uh, the left was convenient for my hand. So it said, well, go on the right. But in the first one, when we did the second center, the third center was much more relevant on the left.
Mm,
But it's true that so what did come up is a mother going through extreme pain and you're somebody carrying exact same burden of the mother in the
yes.
present life. So yeah, it becomes.
Yeah, that's my feeling too, because I got a phrase. Because 3 years ago, somebody discarded me and I'm still processing. And I got the phrase, he left me too. When my
Yeah.
mother, it was like my mother said, he left me too. And she was talking about my father and her father, actually.
Yeah. It appeared generational, so that is absolutely true. So I don't know if it's only you, but absolutely generational, because I saw was shown to me is a river. It's called. So we call on the left side, just on the this part is the river of mother, and on the right side is the river of father, which means their experiences from their ancestors. So it's like what they have carried, and that comes into your system as well, or you take that burden to you as well, and you live it till you decide to release it. And so part of that would be done now. I would also recommend if you join the group, there is a session that we did which is releasing uh, past life or generational traumas. You can
Mhm.
also use that to heal yourself from a burden that you could be carrying from your mother
Mm,
and her from her mother and etc. So you can do that and it goes very quick. It gets
yeah,
it's done very quickly and
I
it's
can
much
find
less
it in
pain.
the group info, or where do I find it?
I will post it. So I will take note, but I will
Okay.
post it. Okay.
Okay.
I will post
So,
it.
and for the rest, it was the physical pain because I have fibromyalgia
You told
and
me.
spasmophilia and chronic fatigue. But I noticed a big difference on that one. When we did the exercise, I had a lot of pain in my hips, in my hip bones,
Left.
which is my sore spot besides my neck. And I did notice a big difference. And I also got the message from the pain that that I need to work on trauma, which I'm doing, which I'm
Okay.
doing now.
Perfect.
So that was it was heavy, but it was great, and I'm really thankful, Manu, because I did get a lot of insights. Still a lot of
Perfect.
work to do, but I will
Yes,
do
please,
it.
please, please. So start tomorrow if you can, because your inner system that gave you that information, now they wait for you to work on it, and they
And
give you
I feel
leverage.
here.
This is why you feel good, because they are giving you leverage to saying, "Are you ready? Are you going to work or not?" And if you do work, then they love it because they say, "Okay, she took our feedback and she starts to work on it." Okay,
Mm,
however difficult, because then there will be other part that will come and resist, but you keep going.
mm,
And the more you push yourself, the more they start to integrate, and the less you feel
mm.
physical pain. Okay.
But it's normal that I do feel exhausted now, and I
Oh,
feel a pressure on my here. It's like a whirlpool, like
yeah. Ah, yeah.
something turning.
So what I recommend, if you can do grounding,
Hmm.
and please drink lots of water.
Okay, yeah, I don't do that often. Okay,
Please do drink a lot of water, and do some grounding, which means just lie down, go to grass. Now, I don't know which part of the world you are in, but if you can
Belgium.
go still, so you are early spring move kind of cold.
Yes.
But if you can lie down on a grass, if you can, and just be there for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and connect to Mother Earth, and see if you can feel whatever has to be released, also releasing into Mother Earth, and it will help you a lot. And drink water.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you
You're
a
most
lot,
welcome.
Manu. I will leave time for the other people. Thank you a lot.
Mm, thank you for your question. Hey, Sue, go ahead, my dear.
Hey, Manu, and maybe this is better if we take offline, you tell me, but
No worry, go ahead.
I came in to learn, and then I wanted to learn for my daughter, as you know. And then when we did the sound, I got all confused. Part of the time I seemed like I was her, part of the time I was connecting into my own story. Um, but I think I
Mm.
was getting more of her story. And so maybe it was too mixed up. But just then my question is how to help
Mm.
somebody who's not here. Can you conduct it for them or no?
Okay, so my take on that, and again, it's my take, huh? So there is,
Yeah,
okay, so I just give you my experience.
yeah,
My take on that is that if you have somebody that is going through difficulty and you're surrounded by that, in this case is your daughter, so you're very connected to her, the part of you that carries her pain is what you can work on. And as you work on that, the way your daughter will see you changes.
oh,
Uh,
okay, cool. Yeah,
okay, because the thing is that when we are quote unquote concerned about somebody else, okay, who is going through any challenge, the part of us that so we have there is a part of you which is living in some kind of either fear, etc. Okay,
yeah,
or mostly it's fear. Okay, it's fear based. And then what it does, it acts from that place. So what you do is when you see your daughter going through that, you are no more Sue. You become this over fearful mom aspect. Now that part is not you. Is another version that is running the show. And because it's another you running the show, the daughter is not wants you, Sue, but has somebody else in front. You can't see
mm,
it, she can see it.
mm,
And what happens is that they start to create a resistance that you think is a resistance to you, but actually is not a resistance to you, resistance to a part of you that is acting from a place of fear, from a place of lack. I mean, mostly it's fear. Okay,
yeah,
and the thing is that for her to do her healing journey, she needs you to be the mom that you are.
okay,
Okay, not this fearful one. Okay? Because when you become fearful, then you start to act from place of fear. So which means you are no more compassionate, you are empathetic. And empathy comes from a place in your neurology, comes from a negative place. It comes from a part of your neurology which is actually having negative things. Because that's how, if you have pain, I can feel your pain only if I feel like you feel, right? Now, but what she's looking for is a compassionate mom, the mom that you can be when you are, quote unquote, being you, so that she can go on her journey. So, yeah, I saw Lisa, you said that as well. Absolutely. So if you especially have children at home that are going through challenges, health challenges, the I always say work on yourself and work on the part of you that gets triggered when your daughter is not well. And if you and you will find that it's got nothing to do with your daughter, it's to do with you that went through something and something happened, and that experience you are just projecting onto her, and her system absolutely cannot accept that because it's already living in fear or in some kind of some emotion, and instead of receiving unconditional compassionate love is receiving projection of the fear. And it can come in your voice, it can come in your words that you choose, it can be in your body language, it can be on actions that you do. You can't see it, but her system sees it. So that's what I say first thing to do. First thing, because that's ground zero. Because from just by being that at that place, it allows her to being herself. And then she can find a path to heal.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Manu. Very clear.
So while you say I had two things coming up, and I think this is probably part of your work to do for yourself, which is I focus on me. And because I become whole, she will do it with ease. And
Oh,
I don't want you to go guilty. She did not do it for you because of you. That's her story. But you being, and you, and of course, everybody around as well in that case, both of you, and I think I gave him the same input, saying, you work on you and let her be her.
yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not, I mean, if you're a mother or a father which is dealing with a child that is going through pain, it's not easy. It's not absolutely not easy. So I'm not saying this is a piece of cake, but I'm just saying that the best work you can do for them to start healing is to work on yourself.
I feel it. Thank you so much, Manu.
Most welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, Manu.
Yes,
Thank you.
Susanna.
I'm Susanna. It's my first time here. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
I was
Welcome in.
a little bit late, so I joined the meeting when just before you started the sound healing, and it was interesting because, well, thank you very much. It was really interesting because I when you started to talk about the left side um and the right side, well, my right side is messed up and it's really interesting because right now I'm with my father uh, who has Alzheimer's. Well, this is like really complicated stuff, but I just want to say that I right now I feel so many things in my right side, like wow, it's like a revolution. And I got Crohn's disease, and my Crohn's disease, I think I didn't realize that it was in my right side of my body, the right side of the intestines, and in and specifically I want to ask you about the pain and the sensations I got in the lung, because I suffer from tuberculosis a few months ago. I'm cured, but there's still like a phantom pain in the lungs, and they I went to the hospital, and they told me that that there is nothing in, in the tests, like I'm clean, but there is a pain in the right lung still, and it's like a ghost pain. No, and it's there. I mean, and I think it's related to sadness, to deep sadness somehow, like, because it's like when I connect to this pain, it's like very dark. I mean, I feel bleak. And I just wanted to ask you about it, if you have any insight about this lung pain. Thank you very much.
Okay, so what I recommend, Susanna, you do is that if I posted the link to the WhatsApp group or Telegram group, I recommend you join, because the beginning of the session is exactly what you're looking for. So it'll make you connect to the pain, and then from the pain, it'll make you connect to where it comes from, and then you can work on it. And I'm going to also post, because there's a question that we ask is there some healing to be done? And if the answer is yes, then there's a session that we recorded before, which actually you can do the healing of a trauma. Okay, and this is also for the question that came before from Kalin. If you had something to heal, then you can use the session to straight away go into healing the trauma. So that's what I would recommend for you, Susanna, okay, to do. So just listen to this session from the beginning. You'll find it in the recording. When you say I connect to it and I feel heaviness and it's dark and sadness, it means there's a trauma from somewhere early part of your life. And do you feel pain now? Curious.
Yes, it's weaker now, but yeah, I feel pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you need. So there's a work for you to do. Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Manu.
You're most welcome. You wanted to go?
Hi. Yes. Hi. Good afternoon from Brooklyn. Um, thank you for this. Thank you for the session, Manu. I also came in a little bit later, but I know to go follow up in the WhatsApp group for the journaling parts that I missed. What I wanted to ask / share. So in the past week and a half, I've started to feel like happy. For the first time in 3 years, everything with the pandemic, that's maybe about 2.5 weeks, I think. And like even in this session, I felt very grounded and very balanced, going through the process and listening to it. I wanted to ask, the right side of the body is related to what? Because that's where the majority of my injuries have been. Is that the mom or the dad?
Normally it's the father, it's the masculine side, is the yin side, okay? And depending on which side of the story, where do you have it? So then it could also be linked to what we call different aspects, like.
Okay, so what I'm thinking about, okay, so my knee, for my birthday on the 22nd, I got a phone call that I needed to go in because they saw something on the MRI for my right knee. And I was like, it's going to be fine. It's just, but this is the knee that got hit by the car 2 times. So they were like, yeah, we want you to see this, but it's not operable. And I also don't have pain. So they were like, it's really unusual, but that I will eventually like need a knee replacement over time. because you just can't get beat up like that and not have it. But also the surgery that I had was on my right pinky with the 2 severed tendons. So the right side of my body, just, yeah, it's been beat up a lot by trauma. So I'm kind of curious.
It's the father side. And the knee is, if the knee is still bothering you, is because you are kind of, it says that challenges moving forward, confusion and obstacle. So you do still feel that there are obstacles that are still there to make you move forward.
I can, yes, something was like chime in and Manu will fill in the blanks. So I think I mentioned a previous session, my supervisor was demoted, the one that was being abusive. And my current supervisors, she doesn't hassle anybody. Everybody's like big smiles, you know, she doesn't give everyone a hard time at all. And even though they tried to damage my reputation with her, she sees my work and she's been really supportive. A little bit cautious in case the rumors were true, but she sees that they're not and how hard I work. I still plan to transition out of there, but it's nice to not be running away at night like my ancestors had to do, and that I can just kind of walk through. And I will say up until this month, I still felt panicked. About 3 weeks ago, she emailed me to remind me to take vacation, to use my annual time, which is what a supervisor is supposed to do, because we're up in June. So yeah, Corinne, you haven't had any vacation. And that sent me into a bit of a panic, but it passed very quickly. So I'm like, okay, even the way I'm processing being caught off guard is good, because my first thoughts were like, oh, I'm not, because my time rolls over to the next year. But I'm like, oh, let me call to make sure, and I'm not going to get reappointed, so I better save my time to cash it out. Like, all that ran through my head, but instead of lasting for days, it was just a couple of hours. And if you remember when you and I talked one-on-one, I was like, I'd be so grateful to like panic and it to pass in a few hours as opposed to linger. And then I was like, this is totally normal behavior for a supervisor. I do that with my direct reports. I'm like, make sure you take lunch, make sure you take your time. Like, this is a normal behavior, but it made me panic because of who I had reported to for so long. So I'm just, there's definitely something changing inside me, and I'm curious about it. And I'll probably email you separately, because I actually don't think I will have to have my knee replaced. Before I logged in, I started my database, my brain filtering through all these things. They're like, Corinne, look at PRP. Corinne, go talk to the Maori healers, because they do bone healing, and I was like, okay. So I just started searching my email. One of them's actually coming to New York for the last week in March and beginning of April. I haven't seen these people in over 3 years. I mean, it's just been, this pandemic just stole so much. So I don't know. So you tell me what you hear.
Yeah, no, what I hear is the following. So what I recommend you do is take any of the session, take anyone you like of the past session, and the scenario you choose is, you say, okay, I am in my workplace and I see my supervisor walking towards me. Okay, this is in your meditation. Okay, in this one. Okay, and you see the supervisor walking towards you, and now you go in and say, okay, what's going on in my body and who is coming up? Because most likely you still have trauma remaining, part of you still that stays and doesn't feel safe yet with you. So it's stuck there, okay? And it just wants to be released, and you just heal it.
Okay,
so
that makes a lot of sense.
Take any of the, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to post one of the session we did for healing from any part. So you take, but the scenario you choose, when you go in, you say, I imagine my supervisor walking towards me, okay? And then you check in inside, and you will find your part, you will find the story, you will find the younger you or could be something way past, has probably nothing to do with the supervisor, because many of the time it's got nothing to do with the supervisor.
Yeah, it's just definitely a trauma response. Definitely a trauma response and a memory. It definitely is. So I was like, oh, definitely bring it up to Manu, because it's not, it doesn't match the tone of the situation. So that's
Exactly. There we
me.
go.
So
Yeah.
I just
Sorry.
replied to her email like, thank you so much. I'll look into it, or I'll schedule something. You know what I mean? Like very benign response, but the panic I had, but that also didn't last for days or weeks, and it didn't take me out of my motion. I'm like being a lot more productive, but in a measured way. And the big one for me, the boundary setting is getting much more comfortable. It's just like I don't feel like I have to over explain it. It's just like, oh no, that doesn't work for me. Or, there's no guilt. There's no, how do I make this work? There's so much more allowing now. So I just, I want to
I
keep
think you,
the momentum
yeah.
up.
Okay, so the story of the knee, and not, and I think this is relevant for everybody, which is pain. Pain is a gift. Sorry if I say like that. It's a gift because it brings to your awareness something that is still not settled in. And for you, your story, because you say knees, okay? Knees not going forward, being still stuck. And you want to move forward, but something pulling you back. And it could be that element about being free from any supervisors, you see? And you become free from that, the pain on the knee will disappear, most likely.
That sounds awesome. I don't have a ton of pain in my physical knee. It's
Doesn't
just the
matter.
type of damage it has. They're like, you should be in pain from it. And I was like, why are you wishing me pain? They're like, they just said oh, did I tell you I got 12 more degrees of movement? I had started with a new physical therapist in February, and between February and mid-March, I got 12 more degrees of movement. I have 3 left. She's like determined to get me at full extension. And it's just, and the more my knee heals, the less distress I feel in my mind. So then when I got that, we saw something on the MRI, I was like, well, yeah, you saw a knee and it's been through a lot, but it's okay. And I went in, and doctor's like, yeah, we're not operating on any of this, but you do need to know in the future, there's an expectation it will get worse. And I was like, okay. Like I just kind of took it in. And then this morning was my going through my brain for like, well, there's other resources to explore beyond what I just heard from the doctor. But everybody was pretty optimistic overall, to be honest with you. So I'm going to take what you said. I'm going to start journaling on that. I'm going to enjoy being more comfortable, being productive, and also not, how do you say, like doing so much for other people I don't have for me. When Sue was talking, I felt that in my heart a lot. Like putting yourself is really hard when people are in pain around you.
This is good.
And I'll go ahead and mute myself. Thank you so much.
Thank
And I will probably email you separately because it's been a lot of change, and 2 weeks is too long, Manu. Just saying. Okay, but thank you for your time, and I appreciate everyone listening.
Welcome. Yeah. Okay. So I could really make connection with my mother's history and pain. She was, as a teen, sexually abused by her uncle. Also, unwanted pregnancy of me with my unknown black father in a further white family where I was raised. I felt the grief and shed some tears. Hopefully, I could resolve it in the love I've sent to her. I have a lot of pain in my lower back. Yeah, the abdomen and hips. This came up. Also, the memory of being punished in the past on my buttocks with carpet beater by her. Could you have thoughts about that? Okay, so what so first, this awareness that you get from the session, listen to the recording and just keep journaling for yourself and releasing it, because every time you will listen to a recording, you will release further. So that's one. The second thing is that you connect to the pain. And pain has a trauma, because when it's what your little one saw, I don't know how old you were when you got beaten up. So sometimes that memory stays. And that's why they say a lot of pain, there is no physical evidence. And this is very emotional. And so see if you can do healing of the trauma that you got exposed to, that I was punished on my buttocks. And so there is a physical, it's in the same area. That's what I would recommend to do. So listen to this and then follow with the one of the healing trauma, like I was telling to Corey. Same. Make sense?
Yes, thank you. It makes sense. Also, I wrote a next message in addition in the chat that I have also a hernia, but the how do you say
Numbness.
yeah, the numbness and the things are on my right side, my right left leg, but I know the nervous in the backbone, they switch. So when you have an injury on your left, the feelings will be on the right. Eh? Is
Correct.
this right?
You compensate.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
compensate.
So I think that the injury must be somewhere. I had an MRE. I think it's on the L4, or I think in the lower part. But yeah, because you also work with light side, right side, and left side. So the feelings are in the complaints are in the right side, but I think the injury is on the left side in my back. But my okay, that's more medical details. But
Okay, so
the neurologist made this also with the overeating, with the fat, with the too much fat. And she says, yeah, lose weight. But when people say to me, lose weight, it means eat more. So there's a lot of resistance in me. Yeah, to really do it on a
addiction.
permanent basis. And so overeating is, yeah, one way I avoid
You
pain,
pain.
reality, and this is what my mother also did. It's in an addiction to avoid pain and
Okay,
yeah.
so Yolanda, can you do, so there are three things that came to me while you're speaking. So one is that you focus on this pain that you started with today, the one you spoke before, and just clear it because you have to clear the trauma because there's a trauma there. Okay, so see if you can use this and work on the trauma so you release the trauma. Okay, so that you kind of ease that out. The second one that really came through is do one of the legacy unburdening and you heal your mom. The pain of the mother that you have carried, because part of it you're still carrying. So her pain is in you. Okay. So that's a second thing I would recommend you do. And third one is you use the same as we did today's session, but you focus on hernia, on the pain. Okay. Same way, same process. Make sense?
Yes, thank you. I
So
will write it down and I will,
three
yeah.
things, three things for
Yeah.
you. So one, you finish the one today with the healing of the trauma, because your little one is still sitting on it. Okay. The second one is you do legacy unburdening of the pain of what your mother went through that you're aware that you have brought in. And third one is do the same as we did today, but from a hernia. So take hernia and the pain of hernia as a starting point, and then you go deep inside, find out, and what comes up, you heal that. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So there is somebody with a question saying, "This is my first time I brought up stuff that I thought was resolved with my mother. I have a chronic pain and I'm trying to come off the pain medication. I know stress increase my pain levels. I joined the group, feeling shaky at the moment. That's okay. What I recommend you do is just be kind, very kind, and very patient to your own system. It's okay. Oh, a lot of us do a lot of work, and then when we start to go into something and something else comes up, so it doesn't mean that what you did before was not good. It had its relevance. Okay, that's okay. And now you're here in front of this new thing. It's what has come up for you. And you can do the same. You can work with it and resolve it. If there's a pain, that means there is something that you can do to work on your inner pain, which means something you can resolve within. And then when it comes to medication or you want to reduce medication, I would have always asked that you work together with whoever is your provider, the medical doctor, and normally they have an ability to, especially if somebody is much more holistic, they have ability to see whether when you work with yourself and you have less pain, then you can see how you will reduce step by step. And yeah, you know the stress increase, stress pain levels, that's known. The question is, where does that stress come from? And normally we look at stress from outside, but outside world is only triggers. What they trigger is inside of you, and that is what you can resolve. Ah, okay. So Corinne, I just had a thought. I had hernia on the right side when I was 8-year-old. I don't have pain for him, but that's 2 surgeries and 2 violent injuries on my right side. I do notice I hold my breath when I think on this. Wow. Good, it's coming up for your awareness. See if you, when you work on your trauma, if it takes you to the. So the thing is that the hernia was not the problem. It's probably what you went through as a surgery could have been the trauma. And then in your system, which is hernia, that closed surgery, and now the surgery is where there could be traumatic experience. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, good. Yeah, because the thing is that when you go into a hospital surgery, you are subject to a lot of people around you, and I've had examples of people that were under anesthesia and they heard everything that was going around, and that was a trauma. So we never know what that little one went through with the 2 surgeries.
This is Melanie. I have a question.
Hey, Melanie.
Well, my question is, could you repeat my first question, the one you mentioned to another woman about the trauma workshop you did? I can't remember what you were saying. I was
Okay. No, what I was saying is that in case when you're working today and when you connected to pain and you found something there, and there was in the session today we asked the question, do you want to heal something? And if the answer was yes, then what I recommend is to go back to one of the past workshop, which I will post its link, and to do that. So that was one time I mentioned. The second time I mentioned is that in case of, she has a story of her supervisor, past supervisor, which was traumatizing for her. So what I said is that even if the past supervisor has left, because your system still has that memory of the trauma, past one. So what it does is that every time you have a supervisor walking past you, your system starts to assume that that is going to repeat. So your inner system just goes into a hyperactive state, and that's why she has panic attack. And so what I said is that what you do is you take that session and you role play. You kind of say, okay, I imagine my supervisor walking towards me, and what will happen is your inner system will start to immediately trigger off, and then you work on it.
okay. I have another question. So I've noticed the patterns now of where in which I'm recreating my trauma. And I can't tell if I'm taking it personally, like that this is what's happening in the state of the union in which I reside, because there's a lot happening here, or it's personal to me. But I seem to like attract very people in positions of authority that I've had to depend upon out of circumstance, because I'm
Mhm.
not able to work because of the traumas,
Mhm.
or I work, I just don't get paid. Um, and they're just constant situations where they're misusing their authority, and I'm reacting to it internally, externally.
Mhm.
And I'm around a person just like me who's receiving like police brutality, just elder abuse, and it seems like I can't tell if the insanity is coming because I'm around the other person, or it's also
So,
in my life.
so she's
And
like a mirror image to you, like something
he
like that.
is a
He.
friend of mine of 35
Okay.
years
Okay.
with
So he's.
autism. Yeah,
So
I
he's
think we're
like.
mirror images.
Yeah, mirror images. Yeah.
But
So.
I need to get out of the caretaking codependent thing because it's killing me. I
Mm,
just have not been able to walk away because of my fear of what's going on to him. It,
mm.
I it's a it's like a hamster in a cage.
Yeah. So you from what I hear, there are two triggers for your inner system. So think about you and the outer world, right? And he's part of the outer world, but there's also the world outside, which is outer world. Both of them have an ability to trigger your inner system, and then you go into an hyperactive into that fight or flight or freeze state, whatever that happens. Okay, so the the example I was giving before was to Corinne, and and you can, so if you can internalize that you have inside of you a replica, is like there is a protection mechanism of the external world that sits here, and all the external world has to do is to trigger it, and then it just starts to go from there. So while we look at the external world, oh, that person said that, or I heard that speech, or whatever, you hear a news on or something, etc., and then suddenly something happens to you inside of you, is because there is the boundary which is within you that just gets triggered from the external world, and it's the same with him. Okay, but he has a different story than the external world. So, and I'm being very simplistic when I know it's more complicated than that, but I'm just being simplistic to you that the authority figures or this partner or person, which is your friend, they are only able to trigger as long as you have that inner receptors that do get triggered. Okay, because that's what goes on, and then everybody they play a ball, like a game. Okay. Uh, and it's the same with the authority. The authority figure is able to sense that you are vulnerable, and then you will react in a certain way, and that makes them act in a certain way. And then you have this kind of, it rolls. So, this is why if you have abusive bosses, you will see that those abusive bosses, I went through that, are not abusive to everybody. They're abusive to 10 out of 100. Why those 10? Because those 10 have the receptor side that works with them for them. So they can be perfectly in that state of abusing those 10 people and not the 90 others, because 90 others don't get triggered. They have nothing like that. So, in essence, the real work is to understand who gets triggered inside of you and to just work from that trigger and forget the external world. So you use the external trigger. So you imagine that if you have this authority figure that is walking towards you or coming towards you and saying you what it says all the time, and then you notice how you get triggered. Now you work on that trigger. You have to become compassionate with it because it is inside of you. It's not the authority figure. The authority figure triggered something which is inside of you, which is a hurt self, which has been traumatized. And then if you can compassionately work with that, and to bring it some peace, do some healing with it. Use any of these sessions to do that, okay, or any means. But when you do that for the authority figure, then you see, because you can always imagine the authority figure walking towards you, and you will know if you sense differently, it means something has shifted inside of you. And then you do the same with your person, which is that you are codependent on. Same thing, because the trigger, as you say, it's a fear. You know there is a fear, but that fear has roots. It's based on something, and that something needs to be healed. And then it changes your relationship with this codependency partner, because that the reason both of you probably do that to each other is both have that same triggers.
Yes.
And you're not helping each other in a way. Okay, we have to be careful with this. There's probably when things are normal, let's call it like that, there is something that goes on there, which is wonderful and beautiful. But because both of you can get triggered from anything, then you are not in your normal self, and then uh, it 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 creates this difficulty between the two. But remember, there's your inner self, and the external world can be whoever, can be anybody that triggers something inside of you. So our work, I think this is what I was telling in the beginning when Sue was asking the question about her daughter. Same question, same answer. You can't work on somebody else because you can't change anybody else. The only thing what you can do is to work on the part of you that gets impacted by the someone else. When you heal that part, that someone else will no more impact you anymore.
So it's what I'm hearing is because in this case, it's an agency that is abusing my friend and the police over and over. Like we can't do anything about it's not like we haven't tried to set boundaries. They just won't let us set boundaries. But if I'm hearing what you're saying correctly, is I mean, because I don't believe that these two policemen are just acting this way with everyone, with just us.
Yeah,
But
because
is it that we're also
because you're vulnerable.
attracting them?
Yes, yeah, correct, in a way. And again, the problem I don't want to use that word is because immediately then you get guilty with that. Oh God, so we did it to ourselves. No, I don't want you to go from guilt point of view. I want you
Okay.
to go there from a solution point of view that, oh, what if we change our relationship with those? If they're policemen, you can imagine them walking into your house and notice what happens to you. And you can understand what happens inside of you. The policemen may have caused trauma to you, but that's not where it all started. It has started way back in your life. And same for him.
Okay.
So the agencies, or whoever it is, and there can be multiple, correct? And they all can come from the same starting point in your life. I mean, see, because when one bullies, so I went through bully from corporate in the corporate world, but my bullying was not started there, it started way back in the childhood, and I got bullied in school, in workplace, same scenario, till I stopped and worked on myself, and the bullying has stopped. See, because you use the word that you kind of attract, yes, in a way, but the thing is that those people are able to see your vulnerabilities that you can't see, but they can see.
Yeah, I think I believe that.
So your work that you can do, and the same for this your friend of yours, if he can do the same, he helps himself, but you help each other as well.
I'm looking, the reason I bring this up is he's really a lovely person,
I'm
but
sure.
because of his disability, he doesn't want to, he doesn't exhibit any desire
To make changes in his
to
life.
make changes. I don't think because of his disability he's capable, and because of the level of abuse is a developmental disability. And of course I would attract someone I could take care of. And it's, it's like, so as long as I'm around someone else's insanity, I'm going to experience their insanity. And how am I going to get out of it? Because he's not going to walk away.
So you're so the and I can feel you. I mean, I honestly I can feel you. But and the reason you keep coming, because you keep coming in here, you go to the core and ceiling as well, okay, is because there is inside of your drive to go towards normalcy. You have a drive, and if you do for yourself, you will help him as well. Not directly, but indirectly.
Thank you.
And so yours, so if somehow you can not focus on his issues, but his issues triggering something inside of you, and the external world also triggering inside of you, if you can just work on them, something in your life will change, and that can trigger him to make changes. Sometime I mean, we don't know how inner systems work. I mean, they are everybody is looking for light. Everyone, all of us. Yeah. Go ahead,
Thank you.
Corinne.
That gives me
Thank you.
clarity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Manu. And thank you. Thank you to all your system. I really want you to thank, I mean, I thank them all, your part, that especially the one that make you keep coming back. They are absolutely loving to you.
I can only feel, I can't feel any of my parts. All I feel is that part that I had that breakthrough with that second time I came to
Yeah.
this workshop. It's just that's the only part I feel. The angry part,
And that's okay. It started from being angry because nobody was looking at that. So when it got attention and it got love, it changed. And and just somehow keep telling to your system, saying, even if I don't feel you, I just want to thank you because you keep making me coming back and keep making me coming back. You keep coming back. You show up to every core and ceiling. It's
okay.
that's a gift of a part of you that wants you to heal. So just love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the clarity.
Yeah, I just wanted to share quickly with the person that just spoke and experience I have, because
Melanie.
I can really, okay, well, she goes by Brooklyn Bronx on here, I think, but it's just I understand that unhealthy codependency and where you feel useful. And I wanted to share with you, I had a friend that was going through, she had been in a marriage for over 25 years. This was over 10 years ago for me. And I was recently married, and my marriage turned into a domestic violence situation. And she was communicating her experiences to me, and I could see my future if I stayed in my marriage through her. So by her sharing, I was able to get out. And I told her, I know you don't feel like strong, because she felt like she couldn't save herself. But I told her, you saved me. And 2 years later, she left him. So yeah, I didn't even expect to feel that, but when you were talking, that's what came up for me. Like I said, she saved me, and then the fever returned. So maybe look at it that way. Like, you can go first, and then that might help your friend.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you for sharing. And I think it's beautiful that I feel from your voice you have such a sense of gratitude for her, which is beautiful. So your system is just being grateful, and this is love, which also means that whatever sense of loss you have from her, you have healed it within you.
This is Melanie. My friend and I have been, you know, I wouldn't really call it a friendship. I think we both come from alcoholic families and sexually abused families. And I think that's where the attraction came from. And it just became a caretaking situation to survive. We both want out. Like, we don't have any romantic relationship. In fact, I think my relationship with him is blocking meeting anyone else, because I can't count on someone else bringing normalcy to my life. But I just feel like I feel selfish in the relationship, and I also feel like I sacrifice myself. It's both sides of the codependency. And I feel like I don't have it in me to just walk away. And I'm probably more codependent than he is. Like, I feel like I'm going to die, literally. A sense of abandonment, which I think I'm projecting onto this person.
It could be a lot of those things, but then you're coming here and you're working on it, not because you want to go out of that relationship, but you want to change the definition of it. And I think what Corinne was saying is that when one heals, the other one gets chance to free as well.